I knew something was off the second I heard the front door click shut. Emily walked in like she was floating. Hair perfectly set. Lips touched with that coral gloss she only wears when she wants attention, just not from me. And in her arms a bouquet of tulips, yellow, loud, and completely unnecessary. I stood in the hallway still in my work clothes, keys dangling from my fingers. "Tulips," I said louder than I intended. She froze. "What?" Her voice tried for innocence, but the edges were too sharp. "Do not play dumb. You know I bring you flowers every week. You do not need another man doing it." Emily set the bouquet on the kitchen island too carefully. "It is just a gesture. Trevor was being nice." "Nice?" I let out a dry laugh. "You think accepting gifts from your colleague is harmless?" She tilted her head, arms crossing. "So what? I am not allowed to take flowers now. Are we doing the control thing again, Ryan?" "No, Emily, we are doing the respect thing. You are walking around like you are single. That is the problem." She snapped at that. "Oh, give me a break. Just because someone appreciates me doesn't mean I am betraying you." My breath caught for a second. "Appreciates you? I am your husband. I already appreciate you. But this," I gestured at the bouquet, "this looks like you are provoking something." She took a slow step forward. "Maybe I am just tired of feeling invisible." That landed hard. We stood in the kitchen, both trying not to blink. The AC hummed. The refrigerator ticked. Our marriage suddenly felt like it was one well-timed insult away from cracking. I shook my head, voice low. "You are making yourself available, Emily. If you keep acting like you are open to being taken, someone is going to take you." The words hung in the air. Electric. She didn't flinch. She just stared at me with that expression she gets when she wants me to feel like the crazy one. This is a classic form of gaslighting, making me doubt my valid concerns to cover up her inappropriate behavior. "Maybe I miss being wanted," she muttered. "You are wanted," I said, the edge in my voice unmistakable. "By me, still, even now." Silence stretched between us. She turned away first. "Maybe I want something else." I didn't follow her as she walked down the hall. I didn't call out or slam a door. I just stood there listening to the sound of my life folding in on itself. My name is Ryan. I live in Austin, Texas. I run a boutique renovation firm. Funny how I can fix everything except what is falling apart in my own home. I thought Emily and I had built something real. We have been married 6 years, but lately I have noticed the shift. She gets quieter when I talk. Her phone lights up more than it used to. And now flowers from a man who isn't me. But here is the thing. I won't lose my dignity. I won't let this unravel in silence. If she wants attention from someone else, she is going to have to answer for it. 2 days later, it was almost laughable how casual she made it look. Emily walked in wearing her navy blazer and set a glossy gold-trimmed package on the kitchen counter like she was placing down a loaf of bread. I recognized the branding right away. Mason Ducker, imported luxury sweets. I was rinsing out a mug back to her, giving her a chance to explain. A chance she didn't take. I dried the mug, slowly turned and leaned against the sink. "What is that?" She glanced at the package, then at me, almost bored. "Sweets from Trevor. He brought them back from his trip." I stared at her, lips pressed tight. "And you thought the best place to leave them was our kitchen?" She shrugged. "He gave them to me. I didn't think it needed to be a whole thing." "I asked you not to accept gifts from him." She tilted her head, eyes narrowing just slightly. "You told me not to accept flowers." "This isn't the same." My jaw tightened. "Do not do that. You know exactly what I meant. This is just another way of crossing the same line." Her smile was small, tired, maybe even a little smug. "Ryan, you cannot police every interaction I have. I am not your employee." "No," I cut in. "You are my wife. And if being my wife doesn't mean something any more, then say that out loud." She paused. "You think I do not see what you are doing? You are not just accepting gifts. You are entertaining the idea that someone else sees you. You are testing how far you can go before I stop caring." That is when she snapped. "At least someone notices me as a woman." Her voice rang out like a slap across the room. I stood still, blinking. That sentence echoed in my head. I noticed her every day, but none of that mattered apparently. "Wow," I said quietly. You have been distracted lately, she said, crossing her arms. No, Emily, I said. I have been loyal. She looked up, eyes flashing. Loyal doesn't mean present, I nodded slowly. So this is your answer. Imported candy and long looks from some guy at work. She didn't reply. That silence told me everything. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel angry. I felt stupid. I walked past her and picked up the package of sweets. What are you doing? She asked. I held it for a moment, then dropped it into the trash without a word. Her eyes went wide. Are you serious? You want to be noticed, I said calmly. Fine, but do not insult me by pretending I haven't seen you this whole time. I needed air. I grabbed my keys and drove. I ended up at my friend Mason's house. He opened the door, took one look at me, and grabbed 2 beers. No questions. We sat on the bench under the big oak tree. She is slipping away, man, I said, and she is not even hiding it. Mason leaned forward. Sounds like she is rewriting the story while you are still living it. I nodded. And the worst part, I have done nothing wrong. Nothing. Then do not let her drag you into a version of this where you lose yourself, Mason said. You have got nothing to prove. The front door creaked open. Mason's sister Lily stepped out carrying a tray with 2 mugs. She smiled shyly. I thought you might need something stronger than beer, tea. That is perfect, thanks. She set the tray down and gave me a quick, warm glance. There was something steady in her presence, like she wasn't trying to fix anything, just willing to stand beside it. Sometimes you do not need fire to recover, Mason said as she went back inside. Sometimes you just need quiet. And for the first time in days, I felt a little bit of that quiet take root inside me. The next morning, I texted Mason 2 words, let us go. By noon, we were standing in front of a sleek downtown apartment complex. Trevor lived on the 4th floor. Trevor answered the door in a polo shirt and socks. He froze when he saw me. Oh, hey. Can I help you? You know why I am here, I said, stepping into the doorway. Look, I didn't mean anything by it. Emily and I just talk sometimes at work. Talk, but do not send her things. Do not play this game. Trevor looked genuinely nervous now. She didn't say she was married. That stopped me. What? She never mentioned a husband. I didn't see a ring. I figured she was single. I stepped forward. So you thought the ring missing meant the door was open? I mean, I wouldn't have crossed any lines. It was just a gift. 2 gifts, I corrected. You think flowers and imported sweets do not carry intent? I grabbed the front of his shirt. She is not available, I said, voice low. And next time you think about being generous with a married woman, ask yourself what kind of man you want to be. I let go, stepped back. Understood, he said, straightening his shirt. I walked out. I needed Emily to understand that there were still lines in this world. That silence is not permission, and dignity doesn't mean passivity. That afternoon, I sat in my truck for a long time outside our house. I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel angry. I just felt clear. If you think I was right to confront the guy, hit the subscribe button. We talk about boundaries and respect here on Story Sparks. It didn't take long. The confrontation with Trevor had barely cooled before Emily lit the fuse again. You humiliated me, she snapped before I could even take off my shoes. You cornered Trevor like some jealous thug at his home. What? You think that makes you look strong? I turned slowly. No, it makes me look married, she scoffed. You embarrassed me. Why? Because I told another man to stop sending my wife gifts? Or because he admitted he thought you were single? That hit. She blinked. You had no right. I had every right, I cut in, voice even. You opened the door to this mess. I am just cleaning up the glass. You do not own me, Ryan. No, I do not, I said, but I trusted you. There is a difference. I took a breath. Let me ask you something. Why do you need attention from another man if you already have a husband? She flinched. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. If this marriage doesn't mean anything to you anymore, just say that. Do not hide behind other men is candy and compliments. Dinner was quiet that night. No fight. No apology. Just the growing realization that the woman sitting across from me wasn't battling for our marriage anymore. She was just battling to be right. The night before our anniversary, the silence didn't just linger. It weighed down the entire house. "I am not cooking tomorrow," Emily muttered, passing me in the kitchen. "Figure it out." She disappeared down the hallway, the bedroom door clicking shut with a finality that told me exactly where her heart was. Not here. I pulled out my phone and sent a message. Half an hour later, Mason showed up. Behind him was Lily. She smiled when she saw me, a smile that didn't ask for anything. "Hope you do not mind," Mason said. Lily insisted on helping. "Of course I do not mind." And just like that, the kitchen came alive. We chopped, stirred, laughed. Real laughter. Lily's touch was subtle but constant. She would adjust the seasoning, gently fix a crooked napkin, refill my glass before I noticed it was empty. There was no performance, no attention-seeking, just care. This is the opposite of narcissistic supply. Lily wasn't doing it to be seen. She was doing it to be kind. By the time we sat down, the kitchen smelled like rosemary and butter. Mason raised a toast to unexpected help and better company. I caught Lily watching me over the rim of her glass, not in a flirtatious way, just present, attuned, and it hit me right there. Warmth. The kind I hadn't felt in months. Our anniversary dinner party. The dining room was glowing. A mix of familiar faces filled the room. Emily sat at the head of the table, looking radiant and venomous all at once. She smiled wide for our guests, but every glance she threw my way carried that razor's edge. Then, somewhere between dessert and the last pour of wine, she did it. She raised her glass with theatrical flair and smiled around the table. "To the next year," she said. "May my second marriage be better than the first." The air went still. Laughter died on lips. Forks paused midair. I stayed seated, hands folded, completely unfazed. Then I smiled. A calm, clear smile. I raised my glass slowly. "Good," I said evenly. "I have already found a better wife." There was a beat of stunned silence, then a murmur. Emily's face drained of color. Her jaw dropped. "What?" she whispered loud enough for half the room to hear. I didn't respond. I took a sip of wine, set my glass down, and turned to the person next to me to resume a casual conversation. "Say that is not true." Emily's voice cracked the silence, but I didn't even glance at her. I just let the question dangle in the air like a wind chime in dead air. Emily finally stood. Her chair scraped loudly against the floor. Her eyes were glassy, now full of disbelief and panic. But I didn't rise. I didn't chase. She wanted attention. She wanted control. And in one line, I took it all away. The next morning, the house was silent. I sat at the kitchen table sipping my coffee. Emily appeared eventually. She looked tired. Not the kind of tired you fix with sleep. "Do you really have someone?" she asked, voice soft. I looked at her calmly. "It is not about you anymore." That sentence hit harder than anything I had said before. "You are not serious," she whispered. "Dead serious." "Ryan, I didn't mean to," she started. "Emily, stop. We are past all that." "So what? You just walk away after everything we have been through?" I tilted my head. "You have been walking away piece by piece for months. I am just catching up." Suddenly her voice sharpened. "At least Trevor appreciated me. At least he saw me." I held her gaze calm and unwavering. "Then marry him if you want." Her lips parted, but the words got caught in her throat. Because she didn't want Trevor. She wanted me to stay, to forgive, to carry the weight while she tested her worth on someone else's scale. "Who is she?" she asked, finally, voice raw. I finished the last sip of my coffee. "She is not the point. You lost me before she ever showed up." "Then tell me why. Why didn't you fight harder?" I looked at her and gave her the truth she didn't want to hear. "Because I finally realized you weren't worth losing myself over." Her face crumbled. But I didn't feel triumphant, just done. I left the house that evening without telling Emily where I was going. Lily was already sitting in the corner booth when I walked into the little cafe. She looked up and smiled. Not wide, not performative, just this soft, genuine smile. "I hope you are okay with coffee and dessert," she said. "I am okay with quiet," I said. We talked about safe things at first, but eventually the conversation slowed into something deeper. "That dinner last night," she said gently. "That couldn't have been easy." It wasn't, but it was honest, which made it bearable. I have seen you these past weeks, she said. You have held yourself together with more strength than I think even you realize. You helped, I said. That night in the kitchen. It reminded me what warmth feels like. I forgot how much I missed that. There was a long, comfortable pause. Ryan, do you know what you want next? Not revenge, not closure. I want peace, I said. Not quiet, real peace. The kind that doesn't make you question your worth every time you sit at a dinner table. Her eyes softened. Thank you, I said, for just being real. Anytime. Then almost without thinking, I stepped closer. Not too close, just enough that the space between us felt like a shared secret. For the first time in a long time, I felt hope. When I got home that night, Emily was standing on the staircase. I saw you, she said, voice trembling. At the cafe with her. I set my keys down gently. I know. Is that what this is now, you parading around with her while I sit here? I wasn't parading, I interrupted, voice calm. I was having coffee with someone who treated me like I mattered. You do not get to play victim, Ryan. You are the one who walked away from this, from us. No, I said, looking up at her. I walked away when it was already over. You just never noticed when you stopped being in it. She descended the stairs slowly. I messed up, she said, softer now. I got distracted. I let myself drift, but I still love you. I believe you. But love isn't enough when it comes with conditions and silence. What happens now? She whispered. I held her gaze. I want a divorce. The words didn't explode. They landed like a final puzzle piece. Quiet, fitting. Emily didn't yell. Didn't cry, she just stared at me. You are really done. I have to be, I said, for both of us. She turned away, walked slowly back upstairs, and didn't look back. I stood alone in the hallway. The silence settling around me, not like a punishment but a beginning. I lost a marriage, but I found something better. Myself. My peace. And maybe, just maybe, someone worth walking into the future with. When Ryan looked Emily in the eye and calmly said, "Then marry him if you want," did he finally reclaim his dignity, or was that the moment he truly let her go? Tell us in the comments what you would have done. Thanks for watching.